In terms of the flow for today, joining me today, we've got Susan and Rex, as well as Jason, and we're going to start with the platform and cover off the discovery workspace and healing modules that make up DEX. We'll talk about neurons for app control before we transition into UWM. And so as we look through the January timeframe, again, a number of great features to talk through. So here is the high-level overview. I won't go through these individually. We'll just go ahead and jump straight in. So starting from a platform perspective, again, we continue to invest in depth and breadth of OS support. So as we go and jump in, really the first call out here is that we've enhanced the agentry coverage to support Red Hat Linux version 10 and Oracle Linux v10. So again, primarily the use case here is going to be for the inventory for the patch side. And these are really the leading capabilities as we continue to enhance the coverage of operating systems. So really this is going to support the patch to zero capabilities we have from a patch perspective. And so up next, we've got all things reporting. And so Susan.
All right, I'm going to take control of the share. So the first update I'm going to go over is the well-requested update to the CSV output of the patch report. So a lot of you were asking, well, Susan, yes, we like the formatting, the beautiful formatting in the PDF version of the report, but for CSV, we really want a clean, tidy, columnar, more traditional type of CSV output where I can just take it and do additional analysis for it. So we listened, and for this update, we are updating 6 out of the 9 of the patch report. The reason is 6 out of 9 is because the other 3 is already in a clean format already. But for 6 out of the 9 patch report, we're updating it so that the CSV format is clean and tidy. By clean and tidy, that means we no longer have section breaks. We no longer have breaks between different rows. So you have a very tidy traditional columnar CSV where you can easily do additional analysis. So a lot of you asked for this, and I'm really happy that we'll be doing that for this release. So that is the update for the report. The next one I want to update is go over is the theme forwarding. So for the last 2 quarters, we're updating Outbound connector for Splunk, for Azure, and this quarter we're releasing a technical preview for S3, AWS S3. So if you're familiar with it, the way to set it up is very simple, and the use case really is to allow you to take your audit trails out of the Neurons platform and into S3. If that is all you need, that is fine. But if you have additional use case like integrating with the Elk stack, the Elastic, Knox stack, and Kibana stack, this also allow you to set up the downstream pipeline to further integrate it with Elk. So this is going to be a very useful, flexible connector for you. How it works is it will automatically export the audit trail into the S3 every 30 or 45 or 60 minutes frequency, depending on your configuration. And the format is we already standardized the format, so it's very easy to be integrated with Elk. And I also want to take this opportunity. And before I move on, let me give you a little demo. So to do that, it's under the connector menu navigation. Now we have a whole section of Outbound connector, and here you can find all the connector, including S3, Azure Blob Storage, Splunk, to export your audit trail into those storage. And let me quickly show you the S3. To set it up is actually pretty simple. You give it a name, you give it some key information like the bucket URL region, and of course the credential for access key and secret key. You set the schedule, and that's it. You save and run, and then depending on your schedule, say every 30 minutes, if you select 30 minutes, then every 30 minutes, it will be automatically exported to the S3. So very simple to set up, pretty useful. And I also would like to take this chance to give an overview of all the different audit trail access method. By now, for the past few quarters, we've been adding a lot of different features for you to access your audit trail, from the most simple going into the audit trail UI, where you can see 30 days of audit trail information. It really is for you for immediate troubleshooting when you just want to monitor something. Very easy. We have very good search capability, so you can find what you need right away. But you say, Susan, 30 days is not quite enough. Well, I want a little bit more information. Then you have the option of setting up the audit trail report. In this way, you have more. You have 90 days, and you also have the convenience of setting it up, say, every 90 days to have a report, send it to your email. You pretty much set it and forget it. And this, because in the report format, is really more appropriate for more compliance audit. You just want to periodically archiving your audit trail, then report is really for you. But if you have even a higher requirement, you want more than 90 days, and you want a more a deeper integration, maybe with your own SIM tool of your choose, then we have 3 connectors for your choice. We have Azure blob storage, we have the Spunk, and we have the Amazon S3 we just talked about. They are all very good for you to export your audit trail to a central location, for log aggregation, for further SIM pipeline integration, and it supports all 3 of them support log every 30, 45, or 60 minutes. So it's very handy. And which one you choose depend with the SIM tool of your choice. So if you're using Spunk Enterprise, then our Spunk HEC connector is for you. If you use, say, Elk, I just mentioned, then your Amazon S3 is your choice. And if you just want a simple, and you happen to be using Azure Blob Storage for your company, then that is a good choice for you as well. So again, to summarize, we're adding the support for S3 and Elk this quarter, and including that, we already have multiple methods to help you manage your audit trails. So that's all for me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Susan. And I'll go ahead and take the screen share back. So really the next item rounding off the platform is MQTT over WebSocket support. So if you're already using the Neurons platform, you've already got your agents deployed, this item's not for you. Really, this is a feature which is to support environments that are using a web proxy and have native MQTT challenges with communication. And so this allows MQTT to route over WebSocket 443, which is more proxy friendly. It is a back-end change. It is a change that our cloud ops team can schedule, and it's really an all or nothing configuration change, which will allow again a broader coverage for customers that have that requirement. Like I say, if you don't have that requirement today, then the current approach is really the optimal, which will continue to be the default moving forwards. So moving on, next we have discovery. And so Rex.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. Let's jump right on to the next slide. One of the things that we're always keeping up with is the different authentication models. So the last 6 months have been a time when everybody with a connector has decided to change their authentication model. ServiceNow, they're deprecating their basic authentication. So we wanted to make sure that we supported the latest and greatest and kept that connector up to date. So we added the OAuth 2 support. So if you're importing from there, you can move and keep up with the changes from ServiceNow. Let's jump to the next slide. Now, one of the things that we have, and this is really kind of for a lot of technical, you guys aren't going to see a ton of this, but we kind of wanted to bring it up. They've talked through one of the changes that we're doing is we want to build more connectors and make it easier for us to understand and enhance and even get so that we can do exciting things with them. So one of these is we've built a generic connector framework. This framework allows us to not have to re-customize. We can just kind of plug in both ends with the additional connectors. So this is one of the exciting pieces that we have. We'll be working with some of you guys from the innovators session as we look at new connectors and those abilities. So great piece of engineering work to help us in the future. We are very excited. We know that as we work in the device view and work with devices, there's very frequently we want to be able to add an attribute to the device that lets it make it easy to find or assign it to another user. So as we looked at that, we've started testing tagging. So we are in beta of tagging. Tags allow us to go in, you can select the device, you can do it in the device view or on the device details, and you'll be able to go in and select that device, add tags. There are multiple RVA roles around this, so you can have it so I can only view them, or I can add them, or I can actually create and add tags. Add tags are fully custom, so you have the ability to control around that. We're excited about this. This will really allow us to do a lot of interesting things in keeping track of devices we want to work on later. So it's in beta. We're probably going to be a little late on this because we're collecting a lot of feedback around performance and how things go from there. So we're not going to hit that early part of this January. I'm expecting to push this a little bit later just due to some performance tuning that we're working through. Intel chip to cloud. We probably should put these on the summary slide. Intel chip to cloud. For all of you that have been familiar with Intel's vPro systems, Intel came out with vPro back in Intel version 1 of their chips. It's been a very exciting capability of the ability for us to have power control and be able to remote control and see the button. It's always been, what is the control system for us to be able to control it? So at one point in time, it was, hey, if it was on-prem, you had the ability to put in. Then Intel came out with it. And the MS server was the ability to go on-prem and install this Intel server to be able to control vPro. Well, in the last little bit, Intel has announced a new service called Intel Cloud. Intel chip to cloud is not available directly for end users. They made it available for those that build management type of systems. We've been working with Intel, and now you'll have the ability to enroll the vPro chip, the vPro devices with the Intel chip to cloud service. When you do that, we now have all of those actions. We can do keyboard, video, mouse, power on, power off, soft power off, power cycles, all of those capabilities, regardless where the device is, in network, out of network, it's there. Now, Intel does charge us for the Intel chip to cloud capability. So we do have to have a new SKU around this. So if you're interested in vPro management, reach out to us, let us know, we'll help you, and you can get into our beta programs, and we can help you get to the SKU. So that's Intel chip to cloud.
Awesome, thanks, Rex. So really over to Workspace. So we will be talking about bots, and we'll cover most of that from a healing perspective. However, one quick optimization to call out is the custom action search dialog. So that is available now, and that gives you the ability to quickly identify any of the actions in the panel just by typing the search dialog. So that was one of the ideas that came through on the portal, and a great item to be able to deliver and optimize the experience there. The next one is really AI diagnostics. So we've spoken about this one in the last Innovators preview to really give an update of where that's up to. So we've been in a stage of beta, which we've been moving towards technical preview. And really the last hurdle that we needed to overcome before we could extend the reach of this technical preview was to make sure that we had the global toggle available for the feature, as well as the RBAC controls as well. So we now have those in place. And so what this means is that it's an opt-in feature. And so as we extend the rollout of this technical preview, it will allow customers to be able to opt in to evaluating this experience. And so the way that will be done is under the tenant settings. So under the admin, under the settings, there's a new AI section in there. And so this gives the capability to toggle both the AI PowerShell within bots, so the AI PowerShell generative script creation capability, this AI diagnostics capability, as well as a survey summarization, which is already in the product, but we wanted to backport and make sure there's a control in there so customers are empowered to be able to toggle that on or off. In addition to that, there's RBAC as well. So once you've enabled it, you can then go into your roles and make sure that the required roles have the capability enabled as well. So with that said, we will be continuing to extend the rollout as we move forwards. If you do want to be ahead of the curve in terms of getting your hands on it, again, do get in touch and let us know. But our plan will be to move fairly quickly in terms of broadening the availability of this feature to allow folks to be able to opt in and trial it. And just to recap again, if it's the first time that you've seen the feature and you're tuning in, this is the ability to be able to type in a symptom in the context of a device. It will take that symptom, it will pass it into the LLM. We will provide the LLM prompt with a list of the capabilities in terms of the available sensors and data points that we're able to retrieve from the device. The LLM will curate an appropriate list of sensors in the context of that described symptom. We will use our edge intelligence capability to go and retrieve those raw results, and then the LLM will process those results to provide a summarized list and any high-level recommendations that surface as a result of that one. So, for example, you could type in "my PC is running slowly," and it will identify the most appropriate sensors for troubleshooting performance issues, bring back the results along with a priority for each score, summarize each score separately, as well as giving an overarching summary if anything scores a 9 or 10 out of 10. So that takes us on to healing, and I think this is a great time to talk about the exciting developments from an app distribution perspective. So Jason, do you want to take this?
Yeah, thanks, Robin. We're excited that we've entered in tech preview or a beta for OS provisioning within Neurons. It is a vboot only. As Robin mentioned on some others, it is a opt-in on the tech preview. So a GA will not be the early January release. It will be later in the quarter, hopefully, depending on the information we find back. So let me actually take the screen for a second, Robin, and I'm just going to show you a couple of the UI things. If you guys are interested in this, we're way excited about getting OSD available within Neurons. Reach out to me if you're looking to get some more information or would like to be part of the tenant. So we have put OS distribution within our app distribution in here. So if we come in here, this is a demo tenant. So if something goes wrong, the developers are actively working on it, and I apologize. So you can see inside app distribution, we have the app catalog deployment status. Since I have deployment status open, we'll start here. We've created a new package type called OSD. In here you have apps. We also have bundles if you've been with us for a while that we added, and then we have OSD and gives you the information. With this though, we have added the ability to actually see a granular input of the actions and their success and or failure. As you can see on this OSD job that was ran, it did succeed, but with errors back in December, probably before we went, and when Notepad failed, but everything else was successful on it. So we were you can come in, you can look and see individually on there, and you have an overview instead of just a general statement that this thing has what 6-7 items in it. You can go there. So to look at it, if we want to come in, we can look into creating an OSD real quick. Well, maybe real quick, subjective. There we go. We come in, we've added a new option here, OSD. This is for Windows only, and the initial phase for OSD is vboot only. What that means is you have to be managed, and then we will be able to deploy out and re-image a device and bring you back to a managed state. So if we come into the OSD app catalog, as we come with this one. It's being slow, I apologize. Always demo gods, right? You come in, it looks like a standard app distribution for you guys that you're used to. The changes were packaged. In this is the first time I did it. We kind of created a general template for you guys to use, kind of the minimal options that you would need to have it for. You have your virtual boot, as I've said. You need to probably partition hard drives, right? We're going to warn you that changing them can cause issues. You will be permanent. You might lose all your information, etc. You can also add in anything else. You know, I want to add a reboot in here, right here, for whatever reason. You know, I can do all that. And then you have your OS actions outside of it. With your enrollment key options with it. Deploy your image. We'll add a new image. It is from we do support UEM and SWIM, both if you have big images. At this point, you have to provide the images. We are not creating the images for you or giving you an option to capture it, and it will give you your DISM command line here for continue on fail. With that, we're going to give it back in instance of time. I'm going to give it back over to Robin, but go ahead and reach out to me or the team if you'd like to have more information on OSD.
Wonderful, thanks, Jason, and yeah, really exciting to see that coming along. So next, we are really transitioning into bots as we talk about healing. So of course, OSD being part of that healing offering as an extension of app distribution. And so really there's a number of content items to talk about from a healing perspective. And the first is the inventory level stages that we have. So we have three lots of inventory stages. We have the people inventory, we have the device inventory, and the universal mode inventory as well. And this is the stage. It's a fairly kind of underrated stage in terms of it's in amongst the query stages that we have. But it's really powerful in terms of what it can achieve, because typically when we're talking certainly around the device level stages in bots, most of the stages that we have, particularly the query and the action ones, are going out to the device is doing work and it's bringing it back. Where the inventory query is different is it's using the data that we already hold within data services within a Neurons tenant. So that's the data that's come from the inventory scanner, it's come from the different connectors. And so we've had a device inventory query in the product for a good few releases now. We bought it in kind of early last year, and it's been really useful. Again, just for being able to pull in any one of the many thousands of attributes that you can have without needing to go out to the client to do work when you don't have to. So it's a very efficient way of building bots. Now, one of the limitations has been really the same that we had with the group builder. So actually the two types of results that we hold within data services from a high level perspective, at least, we have the singular results and we have the array level. So an example of an array level one would be hard drives, because you might have a C drive, a D drive. So any time where you have multiple results for the same device, that's going to be an array level attribute. So we've brought in a new instance of the queries in here, which provide the ability to access array level data. So examples of array level data are things like add remove programs, things like CVEs that are tracked with the device. So there's a huge range of additional attributes that are now available with bots with automation. That can be accessed via this. So it opens a whole new plethora of use cases, both across people, device, universal context as well. So again, would love to kind of hear the feedback on this one. So please do go in as we make this available. Have a play, give us feedback as well. Again, we want to make sure this is kind of really easy to use. We are planning a broader refactor of the stage library and making these capabilities more prominent. But from a use case perspective, this does hopefully unlock a lot more value and potential with regards to automation. So that's stage number one. So the next thing to talk about is Microsoft Teams. So again, today we have a great integration with Microsoft Teams where we can interact with users. And as we invoke the Teams stage within a bot, that Teams message can be either directed to go to a hard-coded email address, or it can go to the end user of the device. Now, the mechanism that we use to derive the end user, we have an algorithm historically which we can either use the UPN of the user and look up with an API to identify the actual user that you need to send the Teams message to. Or if we have a connector pulling in Entra ID and there's been the device level permissions assigned to that one, we pull in the device user association. Now, due to the way that Microsoft store data within the Graph API, we need this blended approach because they don't have a consistent way of storing that association between different device types. So, for example, on a Mac, you don't have that device user association within the Graph API, which is why we need to have that secondary level capability. Now, depending on the organization, depending on how you approach the, again, there's different factors that come into play, depending whether you use a UBN that's consistent with a login and things like that. And so what we found working with different customers is that in certain configurations, your one approach might work better than others. So in order to cater for that and have the broadest degree of flexibility, we've introduced some additional detection order options within the bot settings. So as you navigate to bots within the settings, within there, this is where you can also choose your notification options for bots that are running, as well as a localization of welcome messages from bots. We now have a Teams user detection order. So within there, you can use the Azure GID for inventory. You prefer UPN, so that's where it will use those initially, but then fail back to the secondary method, or you can force either or skip Entra ID altogether and just use inventory-based detection. So again, depending on the configuration, we've left it on the default, which is generally going to be the best recommendation for most. However, if you're having problems with the user and device association, there are backup routes that might be more applicable. Okay, so the next is, again, another idea that came in on the portal, and this is around the operators that we support within filters. So sometimes it can be really useful to just say is not null or space or is null or space. Again, as we're looking at working with this extended set of attributes available within inventory, again, the need to have a more flexible filter set is key to be able to get the best out of the data, as well as working with APIs. And so we have those additional operators now as well. Another idea that came in is around the bots report stage. So we have a dedicated bots report stage, which is an alternative to egressing information via the by the email report. One of the good things with the bots data store, the bots reports, is that it can aggregate information between runs. So with the bots report stage, you choose what information from the upstream stages you want to use, and as the bot runs multiple times, it will aggregate information. Then you can just use the controls on the bot's results page to deduplicate results if you wish, and choose which time span you want to aggregate those results across, and then you've got an export to CSV. Now, one of the bits of feedback that we have is that because typically by default, we will group the information by device, which makes it great to be able to browse the results visually. However, if you want to be able to take advantage of the column sort options, it would only sort the items within the context of the device. So we've got an additional slider at the top that lets you toggle between two different views. One is the grouped by default, grouped by device, which is the default. If you want to ungroup the devices, so it gives it as a flat list, it now means that those column sorters will let you sort the overall data sets. Okay, string manipulation stages. So there's a whole job lot of new stages here to support string manipulation, and I'm really excited about these because these again go to unlock a huge plethora of use cases. And I'll jump out and give an example of how these can work together. But we've got everything from base 64 encode and decode. We've got capitalization, string encoding for URI. Again, great if you combine that with things like being able to generate links for users and things like that, the ability to join, parse, replace, length, match, regex matching, substring, sending to JSON, lowercase, uppercase, and trims. So this is super useful, and probably one of my favorites within this set is the ability to match regex. And why am I so excited about that? Well, one is it really deepens the amount of useful data we can get from the event log sensor. So typically with the event log sensor, when you leverage that within bots, you're going to be interested in event IDs. You're going to be interested in particular attributes around that event log message that came in. But as you start to dig deeper into the messages that come in, there's some really useful information you get within the details. But if you want to use that information programmatically, it gets it really hard to do unless you've got a way of being able to extract just a bit of information you want from that message. And so that's really a great use case within there to be able to use that regex to post-process those event log detail messages and then be able to use those programmatically. So I'll show an example. In fact, we'll jump out right now and show that. So I'm just going to come over here and I am going to just browse to my demo PC here. And so what I'm going to show, first of all, is an example of the demo running. I'll add context to these stages and how that runs. So within here, I have a bot called Total Boot Time. So as we talk about total boot time, if we think about booting up a device, there's really two main portions there. One is the startup phase, when you press the power button to when it gets to the login screen. Then you've got a bit of human activity in the middle where you put your cup of tea down, put your password in. And then you've got the second part, which you're interested in, which is from when the user hit enter on the password or did their Windows hello, how long does it take until they're delivered the desktop and able to get on with their work. So that second part, obviously we have an out-of-the-box sensor for that within Edge Intelligence. For the first part, that's part of our DEX score, the boot degradation. We can look for things going wrong in that point. But what we don't really offer today is that kind of both parts together as one kind of view, which can be useful for troubleshooting and understanding the overall breakdown. And so this is an example of how using those new string stages, you can actually retrieve those bits of information and put them together. So this is an example action bot. What it's going to do is it's going to ascertain both those pieces of information and hopefully it's going to stitch them together so we can see that total boot time for this device. So here we go. So this is currently running and hopefully this works fine. I did run it just before and it worked well. If not, we'll just go and look at the previous results. So it normally runs in just a couple of seconds. Those pesky demo gods. So let's oh, there we go. It did work. Fantastic. Okay, awesome. So last computer startup duration 113 seconds, last user login was 22.68, and the total boot up time was 136 seconds, which is pretty slow, but it's a cheap Azure VM with lots of stuff on it. But the interesting part with this one is really more about the exercise. How did we get to that point? So I'm going to go in, look at the trigger history, and I can see the total boot time in here. So as I open this bot, again, I won't go through it in great detail, but I'll show the overall makeup of the stages and how they work in concert together. So let's just see.
I like the demo demons, slow stuff down for you there.
They are giving me a hard time today, aren't they?
I thought they were living with me, so I'm kind of happy to see they're multi-homed.
I think this is a me browser issue, to be honest. So let's just see.
I would make a Mac joke right now, but I'm sitting next to Gerald, and Gerald's a Mac fan, so I kind of,
Let's see. I'll try that one more time. There we go. We'll go in. Total boot time. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, so I think it was my cache. Right, okay, so first of all, what we're doing, we're getting the event log details, and this is show an example how you can get to any of those custom event logs. So it's not just the application, the system, the security logs. You can actually get to any of those sub-Windows logs within here. And so there's a great source of information in here to look at things like startup time, boot up times. You've got shutdown degradation as well, so working on a matching bot for this one. But for now, we're just interested in getting that log. To retrieve it, first of all, we're sorting it in descending, so we want to get the most recent boot time. From that one, we're going to pick the first in the list. Now with the strings, this is where we can use that regex to go and extract the boot duration from within there. So then we are extracting out. We're not interested in milliseconds, we're just interested in the number. So again, LLMs are a great source of regex, make life easier these days than trying to work it out by hand. Then we have the logon sensor to go and this is just using the out-of-the-box Edge Intelligence sensor to go and retrieve the list of logons. And again, we're going to sort that to get the most recent logon. So we're going to compare the most recent boot up with the most recent logon. This is where we can use some maths expression stage. So we're just really converting this from milliseconds into seconds. So it's more human readable. And I'm using a variable just to give it a nice label of computer startup duration. And then we again do the same with the logons, convert a variable as well, and then we just add the two together to give us a total boot duration, and then we build the log message, which is what you saw in the previous demo in there. So again, a great way of being able to start with what was the event log details, and if we just come out of this one for a moment and have a look at the raw message that we got back from the device, this was the total message we started up with. Windows has started up, boot duration is this. Was it a degradation event, true or false? Here's the date of it. The only bit we're interested in this context is that boot duration, and converting that 130,000 or so into a human readable value, and then being able to leverage that. So again, lots of things you can do with these string manipulation stages. So not just working with the data from the inventory and data services, but as you use the web request stage, as you go out to APIs, connect other systems together. Again, this really helps bots to become more powerful and supports us for future use cases that we're getting to. And thanks, John, for posting the regex 101. Again, great resource there. Fantastic. So let's go and carry on, because there is some more to show as well. So from the current slide here, and we also got some more out of the box templates we're going to be releasing within here too. So first of all, Microsoft Office 365 repair. Again, as we look across the landscape of DEX capabilities, one of the key areas there is how can we heal applications, and so Office, of course, being one of the most prevalent and ubiquitous apps, we've got a new out of the box bot to really help with the maintenance of there. So again, it's not an app distribution solution solely for that one, but for tactical break fix scenarios, install repair, be installed on install. You've got that capability in out of the box bot, which of course you can take a template, you can tweak it, you can change it, but again, it just saves a lot of the effort there. And again, reducing that mean time to resolution is kind of a key goal there. And we have a raft of new templates for Macs as well, working towards. So one of the queue is the ability to rebuild spotlight indexes for when search issues are occurring. So again, there's going to be an out of the box bot there, and a number of additional bots too. And one of the other capabilities that we backported from the PowerShell AI is the ability to typecast outputs from PowerShell query. So by typecast, we mean being able to set the type like text or string, date, Boolean. So by being able to hard code what each of those outputs are, it means that as you connect all the date type of operators on the filter, for example. So another capability that we've got is automap, and what this means is to take the legwork out of trying to figure out which typecasts and which outputs to select. There's an option as you go and run the PowerShell query now to automap the outputs. So that's similar to a preview query, but what that's going to do is it's going to have a stab at setting the right outputs and the right value type. So really a time saver there. And again, stage version management. Hopefully this one's already live in the product, so hopefully you've seen this one already. But as we're making all of these changes to the existing stages, we're just trying to relieve the administrative burden associated with upgrading your bots and workflows. So where it comes to things like PowerShell, and many of you use lots of PowerShell stages, just having a kind of an opt-in acknowledge workflow where there's not a breaking change. So you can go in, you can view the version, you can accept the change, but we're not making you go into every single stage within there and update them one by one. So really, that rounds off Neurons for healing. So Neurons for app control. So we'll cover app control, and then we'll go into more of the on-prem UWM. So from a Neurons for app control perspective, really there's the main focus for the team through this quarter as well as working more broadly behind the scenes on a lot of the work we're doing for FedRAMP, as we which indeed many teams are focused on, really enhancing all of the areas that we need for that. We also have some key areas. So scripted rule support is really the main focus in there. So this is something that's present in the on-prem or hybrid version of Control, but we haven't yet that capability in the cloud native Neurons for app control. And the scripted rule really adds extra flexibility for being able to find the criteria that needs to be met in order for the rule to apply. So again, this will have the feature parity with the on-prem. So from a scripting language perspective, you have the same capabilities in there of VB script or PowerShell, as is increasingly common in there, as well as the execution types and timeout settings within there as well. So that is on track. The other thing you will have noticed now, I don't have a separate breakout on slide with that, but AI Intelligent Assist. So again, across the broader product groups, we continue to look at ways of bringing AI in to optimize the experience. Again, this is a roadmap item, so there's not a deliverable for this quarter, but the team are working on the underpinnings. So this is a component that came in as a result of an internal hackathon that really looks to optimize the configuration experience by being able to have an interface to describe the changes that you want to make from an AC perspective, and it can draft an appropriate rule to achieve that, as well as being able to have a deep search of multiple configurations to identify a given scenario. So they're longer term initiatives that we're working towards, but again, under the hood, the team are working towards those innovation pieces from that perspective. So with that said, that rounds off what we had to cover from a Neurons platform perspective. Maybe the honorary call out I should mention in that one, in the last innovative preview, we spoke about the non-persistent VDI coming soon. So we are in beta for that one. So those of you who've subscribed for the beta, I think we are a day out from the broader release of that one. The teams internally have been getting hands-on with it and providing feedback already. So again, we will continue to iterate quickly on that one. So as we talk about UWM, that's going to a key focus for many of you out there. But again, that is shaping up really well. So as we transition now to talk about User Workspace Manager on-premise, first of all, again, as we look holistically at the suite, we had a release in October. So just to recap on what went out the door from an October perspective, we had some encryption enhancements for the Management Center and the UWM suite. So this is a 3K bit support. We also introduced ARM support within the management server. So this is not ARM support for installing the management server on. This is the ability to deploy ARM binaries out to devices and the requisite CCA supports. And there's also been a file director FreeBSD update as well. Now, what we have coming in the February timeframe is a Service Pack 1. So this is going to bring in some additional encryption enhancements, going to bring in support for Server 2025 and additional enhancements for the deployment agent and personalization server. Now, as we look at our 2026.2 release, so Jeff raised a question before, hey, what about ARM support? So again, we delivered in 2025.3 ARM support for the application control in the agents. The next focus there is Environment Manager, which we are on track for. So Environment Manager is on track for our 2026.2 release, and then we will evaluate in Performance Manager following that. The other key item to talk about is MSIX support. And MSIX support, again, is continuing to get increasing traction. And this is an area where we had some great capabilities in our workspace control product. We have capabilities in the Environment Manager as it stands too, but it's a bit more of a scripted rather than a turnkey approach. So really what we want to do is to up-level the experience in Environment Manager. So this will be across all flavors of Environment Manager, be it on-prem or cloud native. Again, they share the same, not cloud native, on-prem or hybrid, because again, they share the same console. And this will be an enhancement for the configuration of MSIX. So that includes the ability to support personalization and support in app control for the management of those as well. From an app V perspective, again, sort of closely coupled in there, but this is, again, really to extend the support for shortcut management of app V version 5. So again, we had support in EM for earlier versions of app V, but uplifting the capabilities in EM within that one. So yeah, high level overview from a UWM perspective. But with that said, I think we covered everything that we had to share today.